I'm Anna from Miss A Crochet, and this is the last day of Whale Shark Week. It is day 7, and today I will be assembling the final pieces of my Barbie whale shark. If you're new here or if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I have a playlist linked up there. I really recommend that you watch those before watching this so then you can see my entire crochet process and how I managed to create such a big project in just 1 week. As of now, I worked on this whale shark for 11 hours and 58 minutes, and I'm assuming that assembling all of her fins, all 6 fins, is going to add on another hour or 2 to my total time. Today I'm going to be showing you how I plan on assembling her and getting everything lined up with cooking skewers. I think people use these for like steaks and stuff like that, but I use these for lining up all of my amigurumi's arms and extra pieces. I'm also going to be showing you how I managed to remember where each of the 6 fins goes specifically on the body. As I was crocheting all 6 fins, I used a specific stitch marker color and highlighter color so that I could remember which fin this is. So when I look back, I can see the orange stitch marker and the orange highlighter means that this is the top dorsal fin. I did not use this color coding method last time I made the whale shark, and it was kind of a mess because I would end up having to count how many rows there are or how many stitches there are because I kept mixing up which fin is which, because honestly they look the same. They all are pink and they all have white spots on them. It's kind of hard to tell a difference. And for the kitchen skewers, what I usually do is I just stab it through, and then I find where I want it to be on the project and I just stab it through there. It's essentially a pin, but it's giant because this is giant. But now it can stay there. Of course, I should have added stuffing before I did that, but even then, it can poke through the stuffing. I can have multiple ones pinning down specific stitches. Now, without further ado, I'm going to start the clock and start assembling. I only have 2 minutes until 12 hours, so I'm just going to do a little bit and then stop, take my picture for my 12-hour check-in, and then go back to assembling. The biggest advice I can give for sewing on appendages or even eyes that I didn't always follow, especially when I put on these eyes, is to quintuple check, quintuple, I don't know, more than 5 times. I mean, check so many times to make sure that it is lined up. Because once you sew it on, the stitches are going to be a little gapped, they're going to be a little different. You're going to have to either cut off the back of the safety eye and then you don't have enough safety eye backs for the other eyes. You really have to double check, and then double check your double check, and then go back and check the first check to make sure that the first check was even right. Like, you have to check, because if you don't, you're going to end up like me and panic thinking that your whale shark has crooked eyes when she kind of does. I did rearrange the stuffing so it's not looking so bad. Just please, for me, check and check and check. Double check, triple check, quadruple check, quintuple check, sextuple check, what's 7? Octuple check, I don't know, I skipped 7. But please check and make sure that things are lined up. Because if you don't, it's not going to look as good. It took me 3 minutes to get this aligned. Of course I stuffed it, but that was like not even 30 seconds. Check and recheck and check. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Quick hack. If you have extra yarn, use that to try and measure. Like, is it lined up with the center? Because your eyes really can deceive you, especially when there are so many color changes. Okay, I keep pausing the timer to talk to you, but do you see how small this fin is? Right? It's pretty small. I mean, it's only what, 1, 2, maybe 10 rows long. Look at how long my yarn tail is. I'm probably not going to use this all. Do you know how terrible it would have been if I made this and I cut the yarn tail too short? Of course you can do the invisible join in, but I really don't think it's that invisible, especially when it comes to sewing. I've had to do that invisible join in for extra length to my sewing yarn, and it does not make sewing as smooth. It's not really invisible when it comes to sewing. Crocheting, yeah. Sewing, no, because it's getting stuck on those stitches. So please, 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 I don't know why I'm like begging you to do all this stuff. I mean, it's obviously your choice. Cut your yarn with a long enough tail to sew around at least twice. I could probably sew around 3 times with this. I might not, but still, I have enough to sew around it twice. I have enough to bury it. I have enough to tie it with a different strand of yarn from a different fin so that they can stay together and it won't ever come out of the plushie. Okay, now I'm really gonna shut up because I have a lot of work to do. This is not working for me to show you what I'm doing, but right now I'm just taking the front loop of my fin and then I'm crocheting it into like the very top layer of the stitch. I am not digging it super deep down into the polyfill as it will just pull out all of the polyfill and make a huge mess, and then I'll have to try and shove the polyfill back into the stitch or end up taking the polyfill out, which is not what I want to do. Before I double sew this, I'm going to check again. So whenever I do have stuffing that kind of comes out of the stitches, I use a broken skewer to just poke it back in. I believe it was Le Petit Saint Crochet who said to break the skewer or break the like stuffer that comes with stuffing because it has a better texture to like actually poke it back in, and that has honestly changed my life and I'm using that all the time. After almost 10 minutes, the first fin is done. And I do have this much yarn left over, but I can always just reuse it to stuff something. Even after it's sewn on, I'm checking it again, and it's lined up. Second fin done in 4 minutes. But then again, I still have to bury the yarn, so it might be 5. I forgot how hard this one fin is to do because I have to do it with my right hand, but it's all like over here. I'm looking forward to doing this one more, and then being done. If I can sew on the next fin in 8 minutes, I will be done in exactly 13 hours. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm gonna cut this yarn and then it's gonna be done. 13 hours and 6 minutes, approximately 3 skeins of yarn, 3 pounds of stuffing, and she's done. In total, she weighs 5.8 pounds and she is exactly 36 inches long from mouth to tail. I knew that I could make her in 1 week, but I forget like the insane feeling of accomplishment when you finish one because I'm just in awe. I mean, her color changes. I think it looks so good. Her tails, her fins, I got everything lined up. It feels like a really big accomplishment, and then part of me is like, you literally just made a plushie. But then another part of me is like, you made art, because I have never seen anybody else crochet a pink whale shark. I absolutely love the way her mouth turned out. I'm super happy that I didn't end up stuffing the bottom half of her. I think it turned out great. If I ever make another whale shark, I'll definitely use that technique again. But she's really heavy. I mean, 5 pounds, that's a lot. She's like a weighted plushie, like to lay on you. I think she's the perfect size. You can actually like fit your arms around her and hold her. I'm just so happy with how she came out. My guess for how big she would be was pretty much spot on. I said she was probably going to be between 2 to 3 feet, and she was 3 feet. It didn't feel like a really huge burden to make her in a week. Where like this one, this is the very first whale shark I ever made. This is the exact same pattern that I used for her, and this one took me 22 hours, right? I mean, different yarn, but still, 22 hours, same pattern. She only took me 13 hours and 6 minutes. So I almost doubled my time for how long it took me to make them. I think it's kind of crazy because like 1 year later, I'm making the exact same pattern, different yarn, but I'm almost crocheting it 2 times faster than I had the year before. And I think that really just goes to show that, you know, the more you practice and the more you work hard, the better things will get for you, because I thought she was going to take 20 hours. I did not expect it to only be 13, which makes me really happy, because if it probably was 20 hours, my shoulders would really, really hate me. The longest part of the project, with no surprise, is the body. It took up 378 minutes of my 786 minutes. So it took up almost half of the time to make. The second longest part, at 110 minutes, was the mouth. I kind of thought that was going to happen. It was 36 rows of 42 stitches per row. So it took about almost 2 hours to make. Not that surprising. It was all single crochet, so I didn't actually have to like look down, but still, that's a lot of stitches. Now, for third and fourth place, assembling and stuffing the body are tied at 60 minutes. Each of those took me an hour to do. I honestly thought stuffing would take a lot more, and I thought assembling was definitely going to take more time. But I think because she was smaller, I didn't have to move her around as much. I could just sew and it all worked out quickly. The fins that took me the longest to make were the pectoral fins. They're these two. The first one I made took me 45 minutes. The second one took 41 minutes. Not that big of a difference, but still, as you crochet, you get better at it, and it definitely shows within that 4-minute gap. The top of the tail took me 35 minutes, and then in 8th place was the other half of the tail, which took me 25 minutes to make. The 9th longest part of this project was this fin. It only took 10 minutes. The 10th longest part of this project was this tiny little fin, which only took me 6 minutes. And then the part that took the least time was stuffing all these fins before I sewed them on. That only took about 8 minutes. It really wasn't that hard. I would like to thank you all for joining me for this Whale Shark Week. I've received a ton of support on Instagram and here, and it just means a lot to me to see that people are as excited as I am about crocheting and whale sharks. If you want to make your own whale shark, I have both of the patterns linked down below. The one that I used was the cotton caboodle. It was a $5 pattern on Etsy, and then there is the crochet picture one, which makes the giant whale shark, and that one is free, and it is posted on their blog that I've linked. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and sticking around this week. Go check out my Instagram because I'm going to be posting more pictures and videos of Barbie, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye.